Have you ever imagined that the tale of the wolf and the 7 little kids was never about disobedient children being punished, but about you learning, too late, that predators don't come with the face of monsters, but with the voice of someone you trust? What if that door you opened to someone who seemed safe was exactly the moment you devoured your own innocence? Breathe slowly, because you know this wolf. You've already let him in. Maybe you're still inside his belly thinking it's a safe place, but no, it's a no. The story begins differently from all the others. A warrior mother doesn't abandon, but she goes out to work, get food, and support her children. But before she leaves, she warns, beware of the wolf. He is dangerous. He will disguise himself, but you can recognize him by his harsh voice and black feet. The baby goats promise obedience. Their mother then leaves, and the wolf arrives. First attempt, he knocks on the door pretending to be his mother, but his voice gives him away. It's hoarse, scratchy, wrong. The little goats refuse her. The wolf then leaves and returns with a sweet voice, softened like honey and artifice. On the second attempt, the voice now deceives, but the black feet betray, appearing through the window, and again the cubs resist. Once again the wolf leaves and transforms. He puts flour on the feet until they turn white like their mothers. Third try, the voice is sweet, the feet are white, everything is perfect, and the little goats open the door, and they are devoured, one by one. 6 are swallowed whole, and only the smallest hidden in the clock survives to tell the tale. Have you opened this door yet? Have you ever believed in someone who had all the right characteristics, all the right words, all the right signals? You felt there was something wrong, Idwia, but you weren't sure that inside this someone was a predator? Have you ever trusted someone who knew exactly what to say? Someone who perfectly adjusted to your needs, who circumvented your defenses, who studied you until they figured out how to get in? I know so because I have also trusted. Because every wolf is not stupid, he is cunning, methodical, and cleverly sagacious. He doesn't insist on the same strategy. He learns, adapts, improves his disguise, and eventually, he gets you to open the door. And when it opens, it's already late. Because predators don't come biting, they come seducing. They come with exactly what you need to hear, see, feel. They come as an answer to your prayers, a solution to your problems, company for your loneliness, relief for your pain. And you only realize you were a wolf when it has already eaten you whole, sucked the marrow from your bones, and you are already inside its belly, when you have already been devoured. When the door you opened no longer opens inside stomachs and bellies. This is the story of how you learn the difference between intuition that saves and obedience that kills, between distrusting but being manipulated into doubting one's own instincts, between surviving because one hid, escaping being devoured because one listened, obeyed. The story begins with a crucial reversal. The mother does not abandon. She leaves out of necessity, not rejection. She leaves because she needs to find food to support her 7 children. She is a responsible, hard-working provider mother who does what needs to be done. But here's the modern dilemma, which the story captures perfectly. To protect her children, she must be absent. To feed them, she must leave them vulnerable. To be a good mother, you need to not be present. It's a contradiction every working mother knows. It's guilt that eats away at her. It's the constant fear that something will happen right when she's not there. And the solution? Warn, instruct, prepare, teach. Beware of the wolf. Don't open the door. He will disguise himself, but you may recognize him. The mother goat does what she can. It gives information. It gives danger signals. It gives clear rules. But it cannot reveal its presence. It cannot be at the door when the wolf knocks. You can't decide for them whether to open up or not. That will always be up to them. And this is the deepest parental anguish. You can teach, but you can't live life for them. You can warn them of dangers, but you can't prevent what might happen if they don't listen. You can love fiercely, but you can't be everywhere at once. Do you recognize this dynamic? Maybe from another angle. Maybe you were the little goat, son of a mother who had to work, who left you with instructions, rules, warnings. And you, the child, had to decide, I obey because I understand the danger, or do I obey because I'm afraid of disappointing her? Because there's a huge difference between these two obediences. One comes from within, from an instinct for self-preservation, from a developed intuition. The other comes from without, from fear, and fear is a terrible advisor, fear of punishment, or the desire for approval. And when the wolf comes knocking, that difference decides who survives. The 6 older kids obey at first. They refuse the first harsh voice. They refuse the black feet. They are following their mother's instructions perfectly. But when the wolf finally adjusts his disguise, sweet voice, white feet, they open, because they were obeying external signs, not the internal intuition, to a survival instinct that they will need to have when they become adults. They were following checklist of approval, not by instinct. The mother said, "A harsh voice and black feet are dangerous. Therefore, a sweet voice and white feet are security, sophistry ready." It's pure childish logic. It's literal obedience. And that's exactly what kills. Because real predators aren't stupid. They study their prey, know their defenses, learn their safety criteria, and adapt perfectly to them. Have you ever fallen into this trap? Have you ever had a mental list of relationship red flags and met someone who didn't have any of them, only to later discover it was because they studied your list and avoided each item? Have you ever trusted someone because they had all the right credentials? Education, family, faith, recommendations. But beneath the surface they were a wolf, a predator. This is what the wolf teaches. The perfect disguise is the one that passes all the tests you think protect you, that you think you have. Effective predators are those who know exactly what you're looking for and transform into that. The smallest goat, the one that survived, didn't survive because of superior obedience. It survived because it hid. Because I wasn't in the room when everyone else opened the door. Because by chance or pure instinct I don't participate in the collective decision. I choose another path, even if alone. And here's something disturbing. Sometimes survival doesn't come from doing everything right. It comes from being in the right place. From not being available when danger arrives. From being too small to be noticed. Settle for the simple things, a master once said. Have you ever been saved like this? By chance? By being absent when you should have been present? By being forgotten when you should have been remembered? It is survival that brings not pride, but guilt. Why did I survive when others were devoured? It's a question that haunts survivors forever. Let's sleep on it. But let's get back to the mother. She returns home to find horror. The door open, the house empty. Silence where there should have been 7 voices. And only the smallest, trembling, emerging from the clock, whispering, "The wolf has taken them all." This is the nightmare of every mother who has to go out to work. Return and discover that the worst happened exactly when she was not there. That the warnings she gave, the teachings she insistently administered, were not enough. That her instructions failed. That the love that made her leave to bring food to her offspring could not protect the distance. But remember, this isn't just any mother. She's a warrior like so many others in this world. Her first reaction isn't to blame her children for opening the door. It's to blame herself for having to leave. We don't know why there's no father, whether he'd already been devoured by the wolf, or whether he simply ran away from his responsibilities. But we know this mother takes responsibility and seeks solutions. The wolf in this story is also instructively fascinating, because he is intelligent, sagacious, focused, insistent. It doesn't oppress, it doesn't blow down houses. It's not just brute force, it's pure strategy. It's patience, it's adaptability, and this teaches us to pay more attention to our judgments. First attempt failed? No problem. He doesn't give up. He adjusts. He leaves, transforms his voice, and returns. Second attempt failed? No problem again. Adjusts again and transforms his feet. On the third attempt, it's perfect. It's an efficient predator methodology, studying its victims. And that's exactly how human predators work. They test your defenses. They observe your reactions, they learn your limits, and then they adjust their approach until they find the flaw in your system. And it's up to you, following another piece of advice from a master. To deceive predators, you must appear as simple as doves and as cautious as serpents. Appear dazed, dizzy, unconcerned, but observing everything hidden, from the edges, from the sides, out of sight, taking note of everything. Abusers don't come abusive on the first date. They arrive charming, attentive, perfect, and only after you've already invested, open the door, and let them in. Then they show their true colors. But at this point, you're already inside the belly of the wolf, and getting out is much harder than not getting in. The wolf uses honey to sweeten its voice. It uses flour to whiten its feet. These are superficial, cosmetic transformations, and therein lies the opportunity for escape, the prudence of observant serpents. Underneath, he's still a wolf, but his surface is enough to fool those looking only for outward signs of danger. Have you ever been fooled like this? By someone who said all the right words, who made all the right gestures, who seemed perfect in every way you were evaluating. And only later, much later, did you realize you were evaluating the wrong things, that you focused on voice and feet when you should have been paying attention to intention and character. Because predators know, most people judge by external indicators: clothing, vocabulary, education, connections, and it's easy to manipulate external indicators. What's difficult, almost impossible, is manipulating the essence. But the essence is only perceived intuitively, not through a checklist. And here we come to the central problem of the story. The baby goats were taught to trust external signals, voice and feet, rather than internal intuition, sense of danger. When the wolf finally feels right externally, they open up, even though internally something may still be screaming, danger. How many times have you done this? Did you ignore your instincts because everything seemed logically right? Did you silence that visceral discomfort because he's so kind, or she has everything I'm looking for, or everyone says she's a good person? And how many times too late have you realized that you should have listened to that first discomfort, that first strangeness, that first something is wrong, that your intuition whispered before your rational mind silenced it? The wolf enters and devours, not one at a time, slowly, all at once, fast, efficient, whole. It's important to note, he doesn't chew, he swallows whole. The baby goat stayed alive inside him, in the darkness, in the tightness, in the suffocation, but alive. It's the perfect metaphor for abusive relationships. You're devoured whole, but you're still technically alive, inside something bigger that completely controls your environment. No light of your own, no air of your own, simply existing inside the belly of whoever consumed you. Have you ever been inside someone's belly like this? Have you ever been swallowed up by relationships, work, or family dynamics so enveloping that you lost track of where you end and the other person begins? It's being alive, but not living. It's having a heartbeat, but not having a life of your own. It's existing only as an extension of something greater that swallowed you. The wolf, satisfied and heavy, leaves and sleeps. Because predators, after devouring, rest. They become vulnerable. They let their guard down. That's when they can be defeated. The mother goat, upon discovering the horror, does not collapse. She does not paralyze. She acts. With the smaller goat, he follows the wolf's trail until he finds it sleeping with a swollen belly. And he has an idea as bold as it is disturbing. Open the belly and save the children. This isn't the kind, gentle mother of conventional stories. She's a warrior mother who takes scissors and rips open the belly of a predator. She's a mother who acts with precise violence when necessary. She is a fighting mother, not a passive one. And here's something important. She doesn't expect help. She doesn't expect male authority. She doesn't wait for external rescue. She herself is the rescue. Cut open the belly. One by one, the 6 baby goats emerge, alive, intact, scared, but whole. It's resurrection. It's a second birth. It's proof that even after being devoured, having suffered, having been devastated, it's possible to come back. But there's a cost. They emerge different. They now know the darkness within the wolf's belly. They know what it's like to be powerless. They know what it's like to trust wrongly and pay with their lives. They are no longer innocent. They are survivors. And the mother? She doesn't just end up saving. She ends up taking revenge. She fills the wolf's belly with stones, sews it back up, and when he wakes up thirsty and goes to the well to drink, the weight of the stones pulls him in. He drowns. It's a poetic death. What he used to satisfy himself, a belly full of victims, becomes an instrument of his own destruction. But remember, it wasn't the kids who killed the wolf. It was the mother. She did the dirty work that children couldn't do. She bore the brunt of the necessary violence. How many mothers do this? Do they protect their children not just with warnings but with action? Who face predators their children can't face? Who make difficult, even violent choices to ensure their safety? And how many times is this maternal strength judged as exaggerated, as paranoid, as overprotective, until the wolf actually shows up and then everyone understands? The wolf's death is revenge, but it's also prevention. He won't devour anyone else. He won't adapt his disguise for the next home. He won't learn from this mistake and improve for the next attempt. He's dead, drowned, by the weight of his own crime. The story ends with everyone saved. The wolf is dead. The family is reunited. A happy ending. But what happens next? How do the 6 little goats live knowing they've been devoured? How do they trust again? How do they open doors again? They learned a brutal lesson. External signals can be manipulated. Voices can be sweetened. Feet can be whitened. Predators can look exactly like security. So how to discriminate? How do you know when to open up and when to stay closed? The answer isn't in improving your checklist. It's in developing your intuition. In listening to that visceral, emotional, subconscious discomfort that comes before logic. In listening more closely to the serpent's intuition, the one that hisses, "Something is wrong," even when everything seems right. The smallest goat, the one that survived by hiding, has a different lesson. It survived by being unavailable, by being forgotten, by being small. And perhaps its lesson is, sometimes not being present when everyone else is a form of wisdom. Sometimes being last is being first to survive. Do you carry any open bellies? Have you ever been devoured and had to be cut back to life? Any scars from having trusted wrongly? And what about the mother? She will live knowing that she left, and in her absence the worst happened. That the warnings weren't enough, that love can't protect distance. But she will also live knowing that she returned, that she fought, that she saved, that she avenged, that she did everything a mother could do. And maybe that's the only way to live the aftermath. Accepting that we can't be everywhere, that we'll need to leave, that wolves will knock on the door, that children will have to decide again and again and again alone whether or not to open the door. And all we can do is teach the best we know how, come back as quickly as we can, and when necessary, pick up the scissors and do what needs to be done. The wolf and the 7 little goats isn't about obedience, it's about intuition. It's about the difference between following rules and listening to your instincts. It's about predators who study their defenses until they find their flaw. It's about mother lionesses who need to leave but will return and be fierce when necessary. It's about you learning, perhaps too late, that predators don't arrive with the face of monsters. They arrive with exactly what you're looking for. A sweet voice, white feet, the right words, perfect gestures, and a sacred scripture says they disguise themselves as angels of light. So watch out. And the only real defense isn't a better checklist. It's a sharper intuition. It's having the ability to sense danger even when everything seems right. It's the courage to keep the door closed even when all external signs say safe. Because sometimes being wrong about closing the door is better than being right about opening it to the wolf. What if you've already been devoured? If you are still in the womb? No. It is possible to get out. Not alone, but with the help of someone who loves you enough to pick up the scissors and do the dirty work of cutting you and bringing you back to life. You'll emerge different, scarred, with knowledge of the dark, afraid of doors, but you'll emerge alive, experienced, and maybe, just maybe, eventually, even wiser, because the little goats that were devoured and came back, and they don't open doors so easily again. They're suspicious. They hesitate. They test beyond voice and feet. They listen to that inner whisper that says, something's not right, even when everything seems perfect. And mothers who have had to open bellies to save their children don't easily leave without giving the most detailed warnings, without teaching not only the external signs of danger, but the importance of listening to one's own instincts. And wolves will always exist. They will continue to knock on doors, adapting disguises, but not on every door. Only on those where they sense someone will still open them. If this story touched you, if you recognize the wolf that once knocked on your door with a sweet voice and white feet, if you were ever devoured and had to be cut back to life, subscribe to this channel now. Activate the bell so you don't miss the next stories that will teach you the difference between obedience and intuition, between external signs and internal wisdom. Share this video with anyone you know who is about to open the door to a wolf in disguise. With those who need to hear that, not everything that seems safe is. With those who need to learn to trust visceral discomfort more than a logical checklist. In the comments, tell me, which wolf did you let in because it had a sweet voice and white feet? Have you ever been eaten? Have you ever had to be cut back to life? How do you differentiate now between real security and perfect disguise? I'm here, reading every word, honoring every open belly scar, celebrating every door you kept closed even when it seemed like overkill. Because sometimes it's what they call paranoia that saves. Sometimes it's distrust that protects. Sometimes keeping the door closed is the most radical act of self-love there is. Until the next story. Until the next lesson on trusting instinct over appearances. Until you discover that the door that matters to protect is not the wooden door of your house, but the door of your heart. And that door has the right to remain closed until there is absolute certainty, not logical, but visceral, that whoever is on the other side is safe.